feel like going to school today. It's cloudy. I have a slight feeling two of my two classes, I only have two today, might get cancelled. But I'm also like, if I do skip, because I feel like they might get cancelled and they don't get cancelled, I'm going to miss some really important information. But I also don't feel like wasting transport money. So it's not a fun predicament to be in. But I decided if I do go and I can take a walk instead because it's a nice cloudy day and I'll just romanticize the rest of my day. Yeah. So let's get ready.
Ocean blue, I came home for you. Cut my hair in the dress that you wear. Don't you leave, now it's my time to go. I'll be waiting while you're
Good
not.
news. I was about to take a shower and then I got news that there may not be class today. That's good enough because I'm not going. Mm-mm. I'm not going. That means I get to stay home and work on my assignments from here. I have a bunch of case studies that I'm pretty behind on. So the goal with that is going to be to at least make a draft for like one of my psychology case studies and make sure I have it ready to be printed and submitted for consultation on Tuesday. And I also want to do some budgeting because I haven't done that in a while. Like sat down and said, okay, I want to budget this much for that. And I think I'm also supposed to be planning a date this week. And I'm having creators block on that. But I guess okay.
Three, go. 난 모를 거야. 아마 날 모를. I changed fits and now I'm doing my eyebrows. I'll show you the fit later. I have an update. Remember how sometime earlier this year I got like, okay, this is kind of also like a note to feature me because earlier this year I got really excited because I got accepted for, or I got shortlisted. I got shortlisted for the B-Psych program, which is like what you do when you're trying to apply to get a bachelor's program, just bachelor's, not a double degree, but as a major in psychology. So B-Psych is like Bachelor of Psychology, and then it's like a specified program. And obviously, when you start doing your psychology, you have to start it as a double major, and then in end of second year, you like apply to become just a single major. But then they have to take you through an assessment center to see if it's like for you, or you should continue as a double major. So I applied and I got shortlisted, meaning like they called me to come for the assessment center. They're like, okay, cool, you can, let's see if you would do well. Don't judge me. I have no mirror in this room and it's in the other room, but I don't like the lighting there. So I'm trying to see if I can use the reflection on these glasses as a mirror to do my eyebrows. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, yeah, so I got shortlisted and I got really excited. Like the clip is, it happens sometime in June, so I'll put the clip here. Dude, I don't have a clip right here. Dude, I just got called and apparently I got shortlisted to come for an interview for the B-Side program, which I have just been like, I've been convincing myself that it's not even going to be that bad if they don't call me because, but they did. So like I get to go for like an interview for 2 days. Probably by the time this comes out, I'm going to know if I got in or not. So fingers crossed. But damn, okay, sis, I see you. I see you. Insert clip of me last year on this time saying I'm kind of excited to go through this process. Terror on their faces. You know, they were sitting there between questions and they're just sitting there like, challenging. Also, they say, but then I liked the fact that even when they spoke about how challenging it was, it didn't scare me because they spoke about the workload and they said it only gets deeper because they threw me in head first, blah blah blah. But still, I didn't want that. So throwing me to that workload, I needed it. That's exactly what I signed up for. It's like if I were to get thrown head first into any type of work, I'd want it to be psychology. So. And now I'm going through it. What is life? Yeah, and then I went for the assessment center item, and it was intense. Not even the type of intense where you're like, oh my gosh, this is difficult. What the heck is this? None of that. It was just really anxiety inducing in terms of you'd get asked something, like you'd go get assessed in turns, and there was like a group of 30 people, I believe, 28 to 30, 27, somewhere there. And you guys would like get taken separately into a room to be like asked questions and stuff like that. And you'd have to go separately. But then as soon as you're done, you have to wait for everybody else to finish. And they put us in like an auditorium, so no windows. And I'm like a natural light type of person. Like I thrive on natural light. So in this dark room, no windows, still air, and it's chilly as it's cold. And we're just sitting there like the whole day, literally, because there's 30 people and everybody goes in for like 15 to 30 minutes, but then between each person there's like a waiting period, just like waiting maybe for them to like rearrange the files or something. So you're just there all day in a dark room just sitting, and they don't even tell you anything, no activities, no nothing. You guys will just entertain yourselves, but then everybody's kind of anxious. I'm super scared. Some are like, what the heck? So the entire time people are just sitting there, and eventually they start playing games. Before that they start like they were talking, and there's the people always like, oh my gosh, like what if, and you're like, oh my gosh, shut up. And then there's the ones who, the anxious movers, they just there the entire time like, and I'm like, why are you fidgeting so much? That's kind of annoying. Yeah, so that for 3 days was it was a lot. It was a lot, especially for me. It was being in a place that I don't want to be on, and I had to like create a wall because people had a lot of heavy energy. People are like scared, people are anxious, people are jumpy, and I didn't want to feel that because I was like, I know I don't feel like that right now, but I only feel that way because you feel that way, and I will like absorb that energy. So I had to like create walls and be like, yes, you're anxious. I know I'm personally not anxious. I'm feeling fine, but I don't want to feel that. I don't want you to be like, oh my gosh, what if? Oh my gosh, what if? Oh my gosh, what if? And the person next to me is just like, I did not want to absorb that energy, so it was really taxing. Just like have to put up that wall. At some point, I tried listening to music. It only worked for so long. At some point, I got tired. I had to go sit at the back, far from people. So that for 3 days it was really taxing. That's why I say it was a lot. And on the third day, we had to do the same thing where you wait for them to finish asking everybody whatever questions they had scheduled for people. And at the end of that, they put us all in a room, and then they said we're going to call some names. And the ones that we do call, please go to a separate room. The ones who don't get called remain in this room. So they called a bunch of names, and like they call, and my name wasn't called. So I was like, oh, oops. I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, yeah, if you're still in this room, it means that you didn't make it into the B-side program. And I'm like, oh man, damn it. Okay. And then they start giving us a whole pep talk about it was not the only way to get a bachelor's degree or go into master's, because when you get your bachelor's degree, even if it's double or single major, you're still not a certified psychologist of any kind. You're just like, you have to go do your master's, and then you can be like, okay, I'm a psychologist. So I was like, oh, that's not bad. That's not that bad. But then the thing is, over the past few weeks, actually months, over the past few months, I still have some friends who actually got into the B-side program, and then like every now and then they'll like be like put on their status to tell you what they're doing, and I'm like, I was gonna have to do that because I got into UB. I went into psychology knowing I want to go into industrial psychology. I knew from the start. I said I'm applying for this program so that I can get into industrial psychology. But then in first year, I knew that I can't go straight into taking industrial psychology because it's so specialized. And then on top of that, I couldn't take psychology on its own. I had to take it with another subject or course. So I took it with another major. I had to take psychology, and then I was like, okay, similar-ish subject program course is sociology. So if I want to learn about each human individually, I can also learn about people as a whole, like how they behave in groups and like how they influence each other. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll take psychology and I'll take sociology together. That's fine. And then I was like, when I get to the end of second year, I'll apply for my B-Psych and I'll get in. That means that I'll finally be able to study industrial psychology as a specialized item. But then because I didn't know, so by the time I got through the assessment center, because every day in between them leaving us in that dark room alone with our thoughts, they'd pop by every now and then and like talk to us and be like, oh yeah, when you do this is what's going to be expected of you. If you get in, you're going to do this and that. And one of the things that they mentioned is if you get into the B-Psych program, you're going to have sessions with patients, like as practice for like, I think it's like clinical psychology, something like that. You just like sit down, like almost like counseling, no, therapy. Like they give you time to practice and learn how to apply what you've been taught, what you've been taught about dealing with people in like the therapy room. And then you get to practice that and learn like how to apply it with real people. And I think the people also know that, okay, you're like learning, you're here to apply what you've learned in person. And I was like, I have no interest in clinical psychology, ma'am. Don't put me in a room with a patient. I have zero patience for that. That's why I don't want to be in clinical psychology. And I learned it's actually a requirement for people in the B-Psych program. And I was like, I don't want to go there. And then I started I learned this halfway through the assessment center. So throughout that, I was like, okay, no, if I'm gonna have to do it for like a semester, then I'll just like force myself to power through it. I'll do statistics. I really do not like math. But I was like, if I get a decent grade, then I can keep I'll have the grade levels. Like I'll have all the needed courses for me to apply for B-Psych. So I did that with all my statistics class. I was like, okay, great. I can do that with the therapy sessions. I am so glad I didn't have to do it with the therapy sessions, because third year in itself is kind of a lot, because this is when you start like really focusing on things like your research project, like how you're going to do your final year research project, and doing a lot of group projects, single projects, assignments that are all based on research, case studies. And I'm like, okay, I would have had to do that
and endure having people tell me what happened to them and not being able to say, you are being stupid by doing that. That is bad for you. Stop it. I have to be like, oh, but you know this is not good for you, right? And they go, yeah, yeah, I know, but I can't help it. And I go, oh, well, what do you think you should do next? Oh, no, no, no. I've learned even throughout this year, which is really interesting. I take this class called psychometrics, like psychometric testing in psychology. Yeah. It basically teaches you about taking psychological tests, personality, intelligence, blah, 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 all those tests and what you can use them for and how to properly take them and administer them. And one of the most recent things that we had to do for the class was take the MBTI test, the Myers-Briggs test, personality test. And I learned that I'm an ISTJ A. So I'm ISTJ is introverted, sensing, thinking, and judging. And I already like I read through that. I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's about me. That's me. Because people is like, you're like so blunt. Why are you not like so considerate with people's feelings? I just say it like it is, maybe sugarcoat it a little. And I'm like, that's not my personality. I can try, but it's not gonna last that long. So I yeah, I it's just one of those things where I'm like kind of like, okay, sometimes things don't go exactly how you wanted them to go, but in the long run you kind of see how it wasn't meant to be for you anyway. So I'm very happy that I didn't get too sad. I did have to sit down for like that day, the afternoon after they told me that I didn't get it. I had to sit down and like do some rationalizing and then like reordering my life. Like, okay, I didn't get into the B-side program. Now what? And then yeah, I did that and I was like, okay, but like to be honest, sociology is a very easy course to pass. It's also very repetitive, and repetitive like teaching is very good for learning in the long run because they'll just keep teaching you the same thing but they'll add a bit more detail every semester. So that's really good for the learning process because now those concepts are actually they stick because it's literally the same thing with a bit more detail every year. That's good. So sociology is so easy to pass that it's literally like helping the GPA stay very high, while psychology is usually like a lot of new information and then they compact it and then you have to learn how to apply it, and it's up to you to see how you apply that every single day, and then next semester it's a whole new thing again. So that one, since it's not as repetitive, takes a lot of effort really to keep the grades really high, especially because every time you learn something new you need a lot of practice, and if it's not as repetitive it's up to you to see when that repetition comes in, and if it doesn't come in you're practicing during the test, then that's not great for the grades, but it's good for learning. So I was pretty happy with that. One of the things I took away from that is like, okay, if I didn't get in I can still do a double major until I finish. That means I'll have a really nice GPA when I finish if I keep the effort in, which is really lacking right now. But that means when I finish I'll have a nice GPA and I will not be too stressed about it, and I'll have like really good knowledge about people as a whole, not just individuals, but people as individuals and peoples in societies. So I was like, okay, I'm not mad at that at all. I'm okay with that. I'm actually cool with that. That's cool. And then just because me, I'm curious. Because I'm curious and I like to know what's going on, I do like tend to just like see what the B-Psych students do that's different from us. So I see where I could probably supplement my learning, at least so when I graduate, I'm still just a little bit a little bit competitive. So oh gosh. So yeah, I have a chance if I do apply to like what is it called? A master's program or for a temporary job, and I'm applying with a B-Psych, a student who graduates with a single major degree in psychology. I try to supplement my learning, see, okay, they're doing that. Do I need to do that? Does it look like something important, or is it just more like to help with their clinical psychology learning? And one of the recent things that I saw they did is they went for a trip to Sabrana in Lobate, and they were excited. A lot of them were very excited. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Once again, I looked at it and I said, yeah, this definitely was not for me at all. At all. Because as much as I can appreciate and understand why they would get excited for that, I mean, people who are into like clinical psychology as like a starting point is they want to understand people's mental states, their mental processes, and then how that relates to a lot of things like mental illnesses, mental awareness. Like it's all about, they focus a lot on diagnosing and sicknesses and making people feel better. That's the whole focus of that. And then I'm more on maybe the business side of it. So I was just like, yeah, this this was not for me. This was genuinely not for me. If I got in and I had to go for this trip, I don't think I'd be as excited as they are. Maybe they had a pep talk before and somebody like really hyped it up for them, but for me, I'm like, yo, no. So I was like, yeah, y'all who made it in, I can see you guys are excited for it. I was like, okay, that's good. They actually did do a decent job at like selecting, because they made sure that you guys are going to be like the correct fit for this. They made sure they select people who, when you say we're going to Sobrano, they're like excited and hyped for it because they get to see and experience and go apply things firsthand and like get to see the situations in the country as they are as compared to reading them on paper. And but then, yeah,
I do get to take this course called organizational and personal psychology, but then it's literally IO psychology introduction, so industrial and organizational psychology, and I get excited for that one a lot. I actually look forward to that one every single week, and yeah, it's like one of my favorite things to look forward to because every time I go for that class, I learn something new that I'm excited to apply in the world or to my work, and I'm just there like this is great, this is great. And we recently got a case study which I'm really dragging my feet on starting, but I really need to start it. But as soon as I even saw those case studies, like okay, one of the problems here is that, another problem there is that. Okay, solution here could be that, and then I just need to go in and properly research with like correct sources to properly type that out. But if I create a draft, that I'm not blank, I'm not starting from scratch as compared to if I was to have taken cognitive psychology this semester. It's a lot to do with the brain. I don't know if after the brain they go into mental disorders or if that's another one. But yeah, so everything for a reason. And I'm like going to round that rant up with like everything for a reason. And sometimes we do get mad that things don't go the way we want them to go. But I'm particularly happy this time that I didn't spend a lot of energy on being sad or upset about not getting into the B-Psych program, because in the long run, which is literally like around about 3 months after the semester, 3 months after I found out that I didn't get in, I was already seeing why it wasn't for me. So that's that. Mm.
2, 3, go.
난 부를 거야. 아마 날 부를 거야. 웃고 있는 내 모습은
Tell me why I was supposed to go make breakfast and I proceeded to enter the TikTok loophole for a whole hour straight.
You know I'm the face of the city, bitch. That's why you mad. Little bitch.
Hold up, I ain't with that. That will try to get his leg back. Pull up, pew, spin back.
Gosh, I need to make a to-do list because I don't remember what I was supposed to do. TikTok is bad.
미워서 한참을 울었어. 그래야 기분이 나아질 것 같아서 내일이 오면 나는 또
I ended up going to sleep for the rest of the afternoon, like just after lunchtime to 5 p.m. I was just like blacked out. At least when I woke up, I did a bit of work. Other than that, I literally slept the day away. I feel so bad. This is why you can't work from home.